Right, well, lovely to talk to you. First of all, the album. I've been listening to it non-stop for about 2.5 weeks now, and
All right, great.
I absolutely fucking love it.
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
great.
it's obvious. Obviously, you and Greg have been doing lots of socials about it and where it kind of came from. I mean, it is almost like in an alternate parallel universe. If the album that came after Host, I think, could have sounded like this. Is that quite safe to say?
Um, yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's I mean, there's a fair old chunk of time in between
Hmm.
the two albums, so maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's difficult to say. It really is because, like I say, it's so long since we did host. It's a lifetime, really.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess in the real world maybe, but
Yeah.
where we were musically then, I don't think I think we had to go through everything else we've gone through to get back to where we were. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
It definitely
Yeah,
sounds like a real sort of more grown up progression in that respect.
yeah. I mean, I mean, the last sort of 10 years, we've done so much, heavy stuff, particularly with Bloodbath, and obviously Greg's done Strigoi and
Mm.
Valentine. Yeah, I mean, I still love doing all that stuff, but
Mm.
it's nice to be able to, just put that to one side and then just do something that's completely different as well. So it makes it, then when you go back to the heavy stuff, you appreciate that more then. So it's nice to have breaks, and when you
Absolutely.
do the same stuff non-stop, it gets a bit worn, and it's nice to have a break from it. And this is particularly if you're constantly writing and constantly try to release material. It's good to try out different things so you can always have a fresh aspect when you go back to another project. So
Mm. One of the things I was going to ask is when did Greg kind of approach you with the idea of doing this? How long ago did that actually start?
it was it was probably about 5 years ago. I mean, it was around 5 years ago, and he sent a little piece of music that I think it was the song Instinct, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Instinct. He sent that, and I sort of worked out a melody line for it, and we kind of got a song thrown about a little bit, not the full thing. But then, I mean, we shelved it then pretty much for at least 2 years because I think we were writing a new PL album, and
Mm.
we went on tour. And then we sort of resurrected it all again, obviously during the lockdown. So the lockdown enabled us to actually put the album together. I mean, it wasn't a lockdown project, but the lockdown certainly helped us, pull it off. I don't think we would have had the time otherwise, because
Mm.
we're just, especially when it comes to summertime, we're pretty much full on all summer. So
That's it. Yeah. And what I liked the video, the analogy when you and Greg were talking about sort of the roots of the old metal clubs in Leeds, for example. I'm very similar age to both you and Greg, so I completely
yeah,
can relate to that sort of being exposed to different types of music and the three, four corners of the room with the metalheads in one, the punks in the other, the goth.
yeah.
You mentioned that and stuff like Sisters of Mercy. I mean, Floodland for me is one of the best goth albums of all time. Absolutely,
Yeah. Oh, it is totally. I mean, it's and I mean that, and particularly that album. I think that's the one that crossed over in with. That's the one that our ears pricked up to. Really, I mean, we
Mm.
did like. I mean, the Cult, they were kind of gothy, but they were different sounding to Sisters. They were a lot more dark. How
Mm.
the Sisters were. I mean, yeah. I mean, Floodland. Yeah, I mean that's the one that we kind of got into around the time we did, probably around the first and the second album with PL.
Mm.
Particularly the Gothic. That's when we started. I think it was Lucretia. I think Lucretia was the song, the actual song where we thought, my God, this is fucking amazing, this stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it was so kind of cool, and the video was great. We loved the video for it. And yeah, Eldridge was so cool. And, we really sort of bought into that whole Sisters thing. But we were still little death metal kids as well.
Yeah.
So we just kind of threw it, combined elements of both. So yeah, no, but like you said, in the nightclubs, there was always, like you say, different corners of people in the
Mm.
same room, which now I think everything's mishmashed over, and I don't think it would be like that anymore.
I definitely couldn't. That couldn't happen now. No,
no, no,
just,
absolutely not. No.
and I think also because of the way we were exposed to music nowadays. I mean, in those days, you wouldn't have heard Sisters of Mercy or the Cult or anything like that had you not gone to a club, perhaps.
No, no, you wouldn't.
Your
Yeah, you
mates are
wouldn't.
not
I
going to
mean,
play that stuff around the house. You're all going to be listening to, Creator in the
absolutely, yeah.
bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, like you said, just how you're exposed. Because I mean, you're exposed to a lot more. I mean, you do a search on Spotify, where before you know it, you've checked out about 10 different bands.
Mm.
Yeah, like you say, it was very much you only hear what you've bought or what your friend plays you, what he's bought.
Yeah.
And if you're not listening to the radio, then that's the only way you're going to listen to things. Maybe Tommy Vance on a Friday night. If
Oh,
if
God,
you
yeah,
weren't
the old rock
out.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to say
John Peel.
That was it with PL. That's how I found you guys. A friend of mine, I think it was Embers Fire. I just hearing it, and I was just like, "Can I tape that?" And I went round his house, with a blank cassette, C90, taped it, loved it, and then when I had money, went and bought it, and that was.
Yeah, we always try to make a point of making albums like 46 minutes long, so there was just a bit
so you couldn't
long.
tape it all.
Yeah. So it'd always cut off right at the last song, so you'd have to flip over the side, so you'd have like 1.5 albums on the other side. So we still think that when we do albums, we still think 46 minutes. Or but I always used to be pissed off. I mean, when Rain in Blood came out, I mean, I bought it anyway, but I used to play it on my Walkman when I used to do my milk round when I was a kid. So I had it on the Walkman. It was 24 minutes, 26 minutes or something. So I could get almost 2 albums on one side of a C90. So it's like yes. So it was. So I had Rain in Blood, and I think I had Creator or Flag of Hate EP. One side. So, but I mean, it was always funny. I mean, I say these things to my kids; they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Heal the rhythm that you're dreaming, dead or alive. Clear decision, and you're thinking, dead or alive. Do you think the secret is to yours and Greg's longevity and success as songwriters? I don't know really. I mean, we have very similar sort of taste musically. We have very similar taste, but then sometimes we don't always click musically. But most of the time we kind of do. If I like it, and we're the same with movies as well, especially horror films. We do like the same sort of horror films. So I mean, that's never really. We have got into other things as well outside that, we don't necessarily see eye to eye on musically or whatever. But we've kind of metal music. We've always sort of seemed a bit eye to eye with it. We always loved the same bands when we were younger. The same metal bands always ticked the box for us. So I mean, that was, that's a good starting block, I think, for any, if you're writing music. If you're kind of arguing about your direction after the first album, then you're going to run into some trouble, I think. So we've always, generally speaking, we still, see my to eye music. I mean, I can go to a pub with him, and I could, play songs all night, and I keep it. I know he'd be happy with my choice. You know what I mean? Because I know what songs to get, and probably vice versa. So it's So if you were to try and explain this project, this album, with just one song off the record, which song do you think represents the album best? I mean, for me, the songs Inquisition and Divine Emotion, I think, they're kind of like perfect. They've got that whole, what I envision what the project should sound like is it's those 2 songs. I think I've definitely ones that capture it for me. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say, I mean, I don't know. I think, the first song, Wretched Souls kind of, that's kind of, that sort of goes where I kind of want it to go, because it's a little bit PL-y as well. It's got a PL vibe to it, I think, that song. But it kind of ticks all the boxes of what kind of sums up the whole album, I guess. But yeah, I do. I mean, Tomorrow's Skies was initially my favorite song of the whole thing. I just love the kind of the driving sort of force of that song. It reminds me of kind of these obscure songs you hear at like 4 a.m. if someone drags you to a nightclub somewhere in Berlin, and you forget. Sounds good German. Well, yeah, you forget to Shazam it, so you never find out who it was. You know what I mean? It just reminds me of that sort of thing. So yeah, but I mean that song is kind of stands out on its own a little bit because it's a little bit quicker than the rest of it. But yeah, I mean, maybe Richard. So I've changed my opinion. Every time I listen to it, I find I change my mind which song or which part, because I tend to like parts of songs and lines that I've sang. I think you kind of break it down a lot more when you've been that involved in it, because you see where everything kind of comes from. So you tend to break it down more, Yeah, so step away from it for a while to sort of hear it with kind of fresh ears as well. Yeah, I mean, you have to do everything, I mean, it's not even right, when we're writing it, I can work on a song for 3 hours and I just don't know if it's good or not anymore. Then I have to kind of leave it till the next day and just play it as though I'm coming. I mean, even if you have a couple of drinks and listen to something, it's different. You have a different perspective of it than because it's almost like someone else has played you a song that you don't know. Yeah, it's a kind of strange thing. I guess it's like anything. If you're creating any kind of art, if you're writing, or you might think it's good, and then you come back, oh, that's crap. So I guess it's like when you're starting with a blank canvas, I suppose, you've got to keep stepping back and coming back to it. Yeah. So. The hours, the darkness.
When I saw the track listing and I saw the last track and it said I Ran, instantly in my head I was going, is it the Seagull song? Is it Flock of Seagull? And when I heard it, I sort of lifted, because you've got this sort of history of doing. I mean, if you look at a lot of the PL cover songs you've recorded,
yeah, we love the 80s
they're all that sort of like real classic 80s kind of synth stuff. And
yeah, I mean, we saw. I think the first one we did was it the Smiths How Soon Is Now? Was that the?
I think that was one of the early ones. Yeah, and
yeah, I mean,
Spirit.
It's always interesting. Well. Yeah, because they're kind of a lot of the time they're in a minor key as well, which we can always work quite well with that.
Yeah.
I know like a lot of the 80s stuff is in a minor as well, so it's. But I mean, the Seagull song, I got into that much later. It was one of those songs again. I heard it and I didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
Until much later, and then I kind of, right, this is that. I think it was on Grand Theft Auto or San Andreas. I think it was on one of the radio channels on the game.
With Vice City, was it?
Oh, Vice City. Sorry, yeah, it was Vice City. I think, yeah,
yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah, it was Vice City. Yeah, I've been saying that San Andreas, but yeah, it was on there, and I remember on my motorbike in the game. I thought, fucking great, who is it? And then I thought, oh, it's Flock of Seagulls, of course.
Yeah.
So then this is obviously when that's a long time ago that game came out, but yeah, so it was around that time it kind of stuck in my head as maybe something to look at in the future. But I mean, it was with PL, I think we've kind of exhausted the 80s covers really. But I mean, for this we just thought, oh well, you know, we'll see what that's like to do. But we don't spend too long pondering them. You know, if we like the song, then we just attempt it. If you spend too long trying to, because you can make it better. You know, you can just make it different. You cannot improve on these things. You can
put your own spin on it. Yeah, which I always think is a lot of the ones, like when you did the Missing. I think
the Missing,
such a departure from the original, but it was so true to the original at the same time. It was just like
I mean
that balance.
Well, I always love that song, and it used to be on MTV all the time around that. Maybe a few years prior to that, but I remember I always thought it was such a great kind of bleak song in a way.
Mm.
We're all the same in this messed up game we play. We're all hiding from tomorrow.
And so, is there any plans to sort of tour this project at all, or play it live in any way, even like an exclusive one-off event or something? Because I would love to hear these songs.
We haven't planned anything. I mean, it's kind of watch this space, because it's just. I mean, I don't want to just kind of rock up to a gig and without planning anything and just go up there, and it just won't work like that. So we'd have to spend time doing it. And you know, do we get a band? I mean, I don't really want to get a band together. I mean. It'd be end up like Pet Shop Boys or something, but
yeah.
Like Pet Shop Boys. Pet Shop Boys' granddad stood on stage. So no, I mean we were. I mean we're always laughing about this, but I don't know. I mean, we might kind of pull something out of the bag. We might do something somewhere, but like I said, I don't want to just rock up there and I want to plan. But we'll see. But we're starting to write with PL now, and then. I mean, the summer's not too crazy because we try to write an album, so But so we've got some bits. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see what the vibe is when the album comes.
I think there'll be a demand for it. I think when a lot of people hear this, especially even people that aren't a fan of PL, maybe more so now because you've kind of gone back more to that sort of heavier roots. And this is that sort of other direction. I think there's going to be a demand. I honestly, because this record is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean. We'll see, but I mean, like I say, it's. I mean, we're not going to be doing a 6-week tour. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be sort of key gigs if we do it. But I mean, as I speak, we haven't really made any concrete plans for anything.
Well, I got one more question for you, and this is a scenario question. It's kind of like get an idea of what you like musically. Is you're stranded on a desert island and you've got like a solar-powered MP3 player, iPod, whatever, but you're only allowed to take 3 albums on it. What would the 3 albums be?
God. Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath. That's the kind of straight away.
Yep.
Because that's an album I still listen to regularly. I'm
Yeah.
usually drunk when I listen to it, but I still listen to
One
it
of those ones where
regularly.
you've had a few drinks, like stick on. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, it is straight away. When a dangerous meeting starts, it's like I'm headbanging. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, the king.
What else? Yeah. Oh God, that's really difficult. I don't know. I've got to say. Oh God. Let's say Operation Mindcrime.
Oh yeah, Queensryche. Yep.
Yeah, that's another one I play a lot. I mean, these are just stuff I listen when I'm pissed. What else? I'm just literally looking at what I've been listening to recently. What else is on here? Oh, I'll say Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's big sound.
throwing a curveball. Yeah,
That's a different one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, well, when I've asked that question in the past, there's some people throwing in like, a death metal guy threw in ABBA. This is like, wow.
yeah, and yeah. I mean, yeah, I could swap out Jesus Christ Superstar for To Megatherium by Celtic Frost, but at the moment I'm leaning towards Jesus Christ Superstar. A few more pints, I'll probably go back to Frost.
Yeah, can I just reprogram that iPod? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I have to say, I mean, this album, I don't want to keep because I notice our time's nearly coming up. So it's this album is, I'm hoping it's not a one-trick pony when it comes to doing the host project. I really hope that once you've done a PL cycle, once, Bloodbath have probably done another record, is that this is something that you and Greg may revisit later down the road and do more music. Because I just think it's I mean, I'd hate to say it, I like this more than Obsidian, and I loved Obsidian.
Right.
So that's saying a lot.
Right. Cool. No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's nice of you to say that. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, and yeah, I mean, once you finish the kind of touring cycle, we'll be probably 55, 56, and then when we get in our mid 60s, we might look at it again.
Just like this toned down. It's a bit easier to do this stuff. So let's
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff.
So,
well, Nick, thank you so much for chatting to me today, and all the best with this record, and obviously with the writing for the next PL. Look forward to hear that as well.
Great. Thanks, man. Nice to meet you. Thanks.
All the best. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
All the best.
Bye.
Bye.